Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Decoding the Unknown. As always, I am your host Simon, and what happens here is Katie has written me a script which I've never seen before. We're going to explore it together. It's going to be a good, or it might not be a good time. I always kind of lead with it's going to be a good time, but it might be horrific. I mean, this isn't Casual Criminalist though, that's another podcast I do where it is almost always horrific. This is Decoding the Unknown. That's a different show. Thank you, Katie, for putting it together. Let me read it, and let's see where we go today. It's called the Peter Bergmann case. Oh, if you enjoy this show and you're listening to it as a podcast, leave us a review. Spotify now support reviews, which is wonderful. And if you're on YouTube, well, there's a like button below, which you're not obligated to press, but I always appreciate it. On the morning of 16th of June 2009, a father and son out for an early morning swim found the body of a middle-aged man washed up on a beach at Ross's Point in County Sligo, Ireland. I'm sorry, Irish people. I have no idea how to put it. Like Ross's Point, Sligo. Sligo's quite an unattractive name for a place. It's just like Sligo. It sounds like, I don't know, the beach there doesn't see you. Oh, it's Ireland though, so it's probably very pretty. But it's not a very pretty name. After being pronounced dead at the scene at about 8:10 a.m, the man's body was taken to Sligo University Hospital morgue, where an autopsy was performed the following day. No identification was found on or near the body, and the man was later buried in an unmarked grave in Sligo. Thanks to CCTV footage, we have copious amounts of video evidence of this man in his last few days alive, but they just serve to provide more questions than answers. Who was he? How could he leave no trace of himself? And what was the mysterious purple plastic bag? Oh my god, this reminds me of... What's that? Is it an Australian one where there's the guy he's found and he has like the page of a book in his pocket and it's just this like super mysterious... Have we covered it on Decoding the Unknown? If we have, it's embarrassing how little I remember. But it's something... I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, let's just move on. Yes, it's a tale that is highly reminiscent of the Tam and Should Solomon Man case. Exactly. That's the badger. But if you want more information on that, I believe Simon has a top 10s on it or something. Yeah, I probably do. I know it only because I made a video about it. I have no idea where that was, which channel that is on, anything like that. So yeah, good luck finding it. In this episode, let's try and decode the modern day mystery of the man who called himself Peter Bergmann. The strange and sorry tale. If you're not familiar with this story, there'll be lots of talk about suicide later in this episode, so just a heads up if you need one. Consider yourself warned. I remember once I made a joke. It wasn't even that bad. Someone was like, it was really just one person who was complaining, but it stuck with me. I made a joke about suicide, which is obviously something you don't necessarily want to joke about, but it was very lighthearted. It wasn't like I was actively like encouraging suicide. They were like, oh, that triggered me about my friend who committed suicide. And I'm like, I don't want to be a but isn't that like 90% or 95% on you? Because then even the word suicide, you'll be triggered by it. And I'm like, I don't know, that just seems like a you problem, doesn't it? And I don't mean it in a way. It's like, if we're going to talk about it extensively in an episode, well, obviously, you know, I think a trigger warning is not necessary, but it's a good thing to have. But otherwise, I don't know. Enough rambling. Let's just carry on. I feel like a... The first confirmed sighting of our mystery man is when he arrived in Derry by bus on Friday the 12th of June 2009. He then caught another bus to Sligo, a large and popular beachside town in the northwest region of Ireland. From there, he got into a taxi and asked to be taken to a cheap hotel. When the first option was found to be full, he carried on to the driver's next suggestion, the Sligo City Hotel. You can see him coming in on the hotel CCTV. I'll be using the term CCTV quite a lot, as that's an easy way to refer to it. If you're not familiar, who isn't familiar with CCTV? Wait, is this just a British term? Or like, Katie's also British. Do you Americans not call it CCTV? It's like closed circuit television cameras. I don't actually know what it stands for. Big brain. It's security cameras. It stands for closed circuit television. Okay, there we go. Which is basically video surveillance security cameras. I'm really surprised. I thought that was an international term. The man entered with a black shoulder bag, carrying another black bag in his hand. He paid cash for a 3-night stay and gave his name as Peter Bergmann in the hotel register. He put his address as Einster... Oh my god, somewhere in... Oh, it's not German. Oh, it's Austrian, so it's in German. But impronounceable street name 15... Vienne 4472. Vienne is Vienna in English, the capital city of Austria. Is it Vienne or Vienne? How are you supposed to say that? I don't know. I'll just say Vienna. The taxi driver and hotel staff confirmed that Bergmann had a thick German or Austrian accent. Importantly, and apparently against policy, the hotel did not ask him for any confirmation of ID. Uh-oh. On Saturday, the 13th of June, Bergmann was seen on CCTV coming and going from the hotel 13 times. Each time he left, he carried with him a purple plastic bag that had things inside it, although you can't see what they are. Every time he came back, there was no bag to be seen. He was also seen going to the post office on Saturday, where he bought some stamps priced for overseas postage and a corresponding amount of airmail stickers. What's he disposing of? He's leaving the hotel, and he's disposing of something somewhere. I want to jump to body parts immediately, but it's probably not. Sligo has multiple CCTV cameras covering the town, and Bergmann is visible walking around the streets. However, he was never caught on camera disposing of the contents of the bag, so what they were and where he left them remains a mystery. On Sunday, the June the 14th, Bergmann got in a taxi and asked the driver to recommend a quiet beach for a swim. The driver took him to Ross's Point, about 8 kilometers 5 miles away from when Bergmann got out and took a look around, but then got back in the cab and drove back to Sligo. The taxi driver later confirmed that Bergmann had mentioned that he was from Austria. I feel like his use of taxis doesn't correspond to his use of cheap hotels. Like, I've stayed in plenty of cheap hotels when I was traveling around when I was younger. And I'd be like, well, a cheap hotel would always be more expensive than a hostel, or a cheap hostel, even better than that. And I'd be like, taking a taxi would be insane, because you'd be like, oh my God, this is so much money. And you're sitting in the taxi, you see that meter turn over, you're like, oh, it's so expensive. Taxis are expensive. On Monday, June the 15th, Bergmann requested a late checkout from the hotel. He then went out with the full purple plastic bag again for one last emptying. When he checked out later on, you can see the CCTV footage that he has a black shoulder bag and the full purple plastic bag, but he doesn't seem to have the larger black bag that he was carrying before, only a smaller one that looks more like a wash bag. This guy, okay, so what's he up to? He's come from Austria, presumably, or maybe, I don't know, could live in Ireland, and he's checked into a cheap hotel with a large purple bag. And then gradually over time, he's filled this smaller bag with items from the purple bag, wandered around town and presumably disposed of it or hidden them in places, and then got back to the hotel and eventually checked out once he's done with it all. I know it just seems unlikely, because, I mean, if he was hauling in a giant purple bag with a body inside it, I feel like Katie would have mentioned that it was the size of a person, because that's big and heavy. Also, how would he get that on a plane? But it does feel like he's disposing of body parts or something like that, doesn't it? What else would you need to be so careful about disposing of? Spy documents? Is he a spy? He walked to the bus station, and by the time he got there and appeared on CCTV again, the small black bag had disappeared. He was next captured inside the bus station, where he ordered the classic hanging around in a station fare of cappuccino and a toasted cheese and ham sandwich. Truth. The number of petrol stations, bus stations, train stations, you're just sitting in there, it's too loud, there's lots of people, you've maybe bought a magazine, and you're just sitting there having a coffee and a weird sandwich that isn't particularly good and is super overpriced. Yeah, it's true. It's so true. He then took a piece of paper out of his pocket, wrote notes on it, and folded it up, and then ripped it to pieces, throwing the bits of paper into a nearby bin. He eventually got on a bus for Ross's Point, the beach he had briefly scouted out the day before. When asked by the bus driver if he wanted a single or return ticket, he asked for a single. The bus arrived in Ross's Point sometime in the mid-afternoon, and Bergmann got off taking his bags with him. Several people confirmed having seen him on the beach over the course of Sunday afternoon and evening. He stuck out to them, as most remember him being quite smartly dressed for the beach in his dark trousers, shirt, and leather jacket. One witness on the short documentary film The Last Days of Peter Bergmann said, "He looked almost out of place and out of time. He was seen walking parallel to the water with his trousers rolled up, pacing up and down." He did respond to brief greetings from fellow beachgoers, but according to different eyewitnesses, quote, he did seem to be kind of stooped, hands behind his back, as if he was in another world. The last confirmed sighting was after 10:30 p.m, with some sources putting it as late as 11:50 p.m. This dude sounds like he's gone to this, and I also know because we had the trigger warning about suicide, it sounds like he's checked into some hotel, he's disposed of something that he doesn't want people finding, and then he's decided to kill himself. And he's gone to the beach, and he doesn't care what he wears because he's going to the beach to swim out to sea, which I didn't realize was a way to kill yourself until I saw that Spooks episode, which is that British spy show. I think internationally it's got a different name, like MI5 or something. And the main character just goes to the beach and just swims out to sea and dies Does he die? Something like that. He intends to kill himself. And I'm like, why would you swim out to sea? That sounds like a horrible way to die. Can you imagine you swim there as like, I changed my mind. And now I'm in the middle of the ocean and it's night. By this point, it was only the fact that it was so late that made anyone remember seeing him. Peter Bergmann was not seen again until 6:45 the following morning when his lifeless body was found washed up on the beach. He was wearing Speedo-type swimming bottoms, but had underwear and a t-shirt on over them. His other clothes, including his leather jacket, were found lying in a folded pile further along the beach. There was no form of ID on the body, just a few coins, some aspirin, and a bar of soap from a hotel. Strangely, every item of clothing had the tag cut off. Bergmann was pronounced dead at the scene and transferred to the Sligo University Hospital morgue. The tags being cut off the clothes is not unusual. People cut the tags off if they find them itchy. This dude could be one of those people. I think that's one of those things that when people look back and they're like, they want to make it more mysterious or they want to dig and find weird things, they'll be like, cut the tags off his clothes. People don't know where they're from. It's like, no, he cut the tags off his bloody clothes because he found them itchy. Stop trying to make things up that aren't, not make things up, but like make things more mysterious than they really are. The mystery deepens. Oh, here we go. You might surmise that a person dressed in swimming gear, albeit with clothes on over the top, and was found washed up on the sand, probably drowned. In most cases, you'd be correct, but not on this one. Whoa, okay. The medical examiner confirmed in the documentary there was no signs of foul play and no evidence of, at least externally, saltwater drowning. It was found on further examination of Bergmann's body that he had very advanced prostate cancer and tumors that had spread into his bones and other parts of his body. He had previous heart attacks too, but the toxicology report brought back no trace of any sort of painkiller in his system. The examiner thought this was odd, as due to the cancer, Bergmann was probably in some amount of pain. He also thought that because of the advanced stage of his cancer, Bergmann probably only had weeks to live. Bergmann's official cause of death was given as acute cardiac arrest. After this sad end, the Gardaí, the Irish police force, set about trying to identify him. His name was found at the hotel, but it was then discovered that no confirmation of his identity had been made. A subsequent search of his name through European and eventually North and South American passport databases brought back no matches to this apparent Peter Bergmann. This led to the Gardaí to assume that he was using a false name. The Austrian address given the hotel did not exist. No phone, no wallet, or any other sort of personal item was ever found. Stills from the CCTV footage and artist renderings from his autopsy circulated throughout Ireland and Europe, but no family member or friend has ever come forward to ID the man. None of his bags or any of the items he seemed to hide away throughout Sligo were found. Peter Bergmann, it seems, is a ghost. Yes, okay, reasonable, or you just haven't found him. He could just be a lonely person who doesn't really know anybody and then just anonymously wanted to kill himself. And okay, so he didn't drown, but he was obviously very, if he was going to be dead within weeks, he's a very sick man. And it is definitely entirely possible that he swam out to sea intending to kill himself and to drown, but his heart gave out before because he was so sick. Okay, so far there's not really any mystery to me. It's like, okay, sorry, there is mystery. What was he disposing of? It could just be personal effects. He just wanted to be a completely anonymous dead person, and that he traveled with some belongings that he had, and he just wanted to get rid of those belongings. Ironically, by making this such a mystery for everybody, everyone's digging into this Peter Bergmann character. The aim of the trip. One of the few things we do know about Bergmann, as I have to keep calling him, is that he was not from Sligo. One of the other few things we could probably surmise from his behaviour is that he went to Sligo with the intention of ending his life there. We know he was not from Sligo as he was seen travelling there from Derry and didn't seem familiar with the layout of the town. One of the many dead... Yeah, also, when they circulated the picture of him, someone will be like, oh yeah, that's Bob! Like, fairly immediately. Sligo doesn't strike me as a giant place. One of the many dead ends to this trail is that nobody seems to have worked out where he came to Derry from. If he came from outside Ireland, which seems likely given his accent and assertions that he was Austrian, surely he would have needed to show some ID to get there from anywhere else in Europe. Sure. So he could have shown this ID, he could have shown his real passport, and then just disposed of it as soon as he arrived in Ireland if he intended on not coming back. So you could look for flights from Austria to Ireland with someone roughly his age, and then ask the flight attendants and pilots on that flight or through the airport whether they could. But then again, it's like, okay, why? This is the thing. This is going to be very expensive, and there's going to be all sorts of police resources spent on this. But it's like, why would they do it? What's the motivation to find this guy who clearly doesn't want to be found and tell his probably non-existent friends and family? It'd be like, it's a mystery. Okay, bummer. We're not going to solve it. But it also doesn't seem like that important. So bad. I should be selling this artist, shouldn't I? Like, oh my god, stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out what really happened to Peter Bergman. But really, I'm like, oh my god, who cares?
That's not nice to say.
Oh no! Okay, let's carry on. God, I'm so cynical. I depress myself sometimes with how cynical I am. It's like, why would we waste money on this? Honestly, dear listener, why would you waste time listening to this?
Because you love it.
He may have been in Ireland longer than people realise, though, and just went to Derry and then on to Sligo in June. I have no idea how far back authorities looked for incoming travellers, but maybe it wasn't quite far enough. And why was he in Sligo in the first place? Basically, everything I say from now on is almost total speculation, but everyone who interacted with him, and the police investigators afterwards, concluded that it was likely that he had gone there with the intention of killing himself. Knowing what we know from his autopsy reports, there's no way he wouldn't have been aware that he was very, very sick. He'd had at least 2 heart attacks previously, and a worker at a bus depot who Bergman asked about a bus to Ross's Point did say that he looked like he was in pain or some sort of stress. Having scouted out a beach the day before, Bergman checked out of the hotel and, after ditching another bag somewhere, spent all day wandering up and down the beach, perhaps waiting for high tide and for no one to be around. Having taken care of not leaving any identifying features anywhere in the hotel, town, or even his own clothes, he set out to disappear into the Atlantic. There are branching theories why the next verse maybe was swept out to sea, never to be recovered. This could have also have been a whim, or as many people have speculated, it was to do with insurance or tax reasons. No medications were found in his toxicology report, meaning that he wasn't taking anything for his cancer. With potentially only a few weeks to live, he took the matter into his own hands and went out in a peaceful way in a beautiful place. This is the thing, I reckon he was intending to swim out to sea, but he probably had a heart attack pretty swiftly and died, and therefore ended up getting washed out onto shore rather than being able to swim far enough so it'd be washed up. And then, is that right? I feel like I only know this from an episode of CSI or something. But if you kill yourself and you have a life insurance policy, it's not going to pay out. But if you just disappear, after a while they'll, I guess, legally declare you dead, and then your life insurance policy can pay out. So, does that make sense? But then if he clearly doesn't seem to have any dependents or anyone that he wants to notify about his death, so who's that insurance policy go to? Weird. Maybe he had visited Sligo before, or maybe he had picked a random coastal town on a map, but maybe the thought of enduring a few more weeks or months of pain was too much. There might be payout implications for life or health insurance in some countries in the event of suicide, so missing to be legally declared dead in the future might have been one way around it for Bergman. There we go. I know there are a lot of holes here, but we'll delve a bit deeper into this as we go. I mean, a big hole is it's going to take a long time for you to be declared legally dead. And also, if you have, okay, yeah, but then it's okay, you're going to... I feel he's got late-stage cancer, and he has a heart attack, so it's not technically suicide. But then, that's a really intense one. Because it's if you've got a life insurance policy, and you're dying, and you know you've got a few weeks to live, and you're okay, but the pain is unbearable. But if you kill yourself, then your life insurance won't pay out and your family won't get anything. So you have to... That's kind of sadistic on the part of the life insurance policies, because then they're you have to bear through it and die when the cancer goddamn takes you.
Do you know what capitalism is? Get
Which, that seems a bit intense on the life insurance company's part. I feel like there should be an exception there. Because otherwise we've got old poor Peter here swimming out to sea. Another theory is that he did actually die coincidentally while he was trying to kill himself. His cause of death was not drowning, but cardiac arrest, or a heart attack. He was wearing a swimsuit, albeit with underwear and a t-shirt when he was found, so maybe he was venturing out or coming back in. Then he had a heart attack and died. Due to the tides, he was found close to where he started. If this was the case, he left everyone with a mystery for no real reason. Unless, and this is the third theory, he wanted to go out with some sort of bang and intentionally create a mystery for people to solve, whether he meant for his body to be found or not. I find that unlikely, because it's one of those things where it's yo, you're dead. Why would you care? It's one thing, it's all that stuff that we think, it's funeral, all this stuff. It's just for your family's sake, because you're dead. You can't possibly care. Why would you want to create some sort of weird mystery? I guess so you'll be remembered for something. Which is also something I feel a bit personally conflicted about, because it's yeah, I'd like to be remembered for something, which is a weird slightly narcissistic, even egomaniacal thing to say, but it's also I'm also fully aware that I won't be, and especially over the really long term. You go back 100 years, it's how many people do we really remember from 100 years ago? It's a few. and then go back 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years. And in the grand scheme of things, these are not long periods of time. Going back 10,000 years, it's like, really, I don't. Is there anyone remember from 10,000 years ago? I don't. I couldn't name anyone offhand. Maybe someone would mention someone to be like, oh yeah, like that guy from some Bible story or something. And these are the people we remember. There's probably like 3 or nobody. So I'm also like, oh, what's the point? Oh dear. We're all going to die and be forgotten. It's scary. Or not, because who cares? You'll be dead.
Oh, it's fine.
Let's delve a little deeper now into some of the biggest points of interest in the case. The name and address. We've been calling this man Peter Bergmann, as that's how he registered at the hotel. No apparent match to a Peter Bergmann of his description or age was found in passport databases or whatever the police searched at the time. It seems very odd that the hotel did not ask him for any confirmation of identification. This isn't really addressed by the hotel in the documentary. Oh yeah, the documentary, there was the quote from earlier. They just say that they would have asked him for some details. I guess if he was paying cash in advance, it may not have been necessary. Maybe. Or maybe it's just one of those places where it's like they just don't ask questions. It's like, yeah, just paying in cash. Yeah, of course, maybe they're legally obliged to ask for ID, but they don't, and no one cares, and no one's going to get caught, and there's going to be like minimal punishment. He had no reservation and just walked in ready to pay for his 3 nights. Isn't even necessary to give a name at all. How do celebrities do it? They're always checking in at a false name, so who's providing the corroboration there? Admittedly, it's been a while since I stayed in a hotel without making a prior reservation, so I'm not the best judge to say whether this was usual behavior in 2009. I don't think it is. It's been a long time since I've stayed anywhere where they haven't, either whether it's a hotel I've just walked into or a hotel that I've booked ahead of time. Even then, you'll arrive and they'll be like, can I see some, passport and credit card, please? I can't remember a time. Or maybe you just forget it because you just don't, you don't remember when it doesn't happen. But I'm pretty sure it's almost every single time. To be honest, it's been a while since I stayed in a hotel at all, but because of what happened to Bergmann, it's just maddening that we have neither the confirmation that Bergmann was his real name, nor any sense of how he might have reacted when asked to provide another form of ID. And this leads on to the address he wrote. It's been given as 1-15 VN 44272. This is not the correct postal code for Vienna, or indeed anywhere in Austria, and the street name also doesn't make sense. I mean, okay, but it's like if I was making up a postcode. Like, I think of, like, postcodes, like, they're always, well, they're not always, but isn't it, like, letter, in the UK, letter, number, letter. No. Look, there's a specific format, but I could easily make up a postcode that looks valid. Like, I'll make one up right now. RE12 1FD. Okay, there we go. It looks legit, but if someone looked it up, I imagine that's not actually a postcode. That doesn't mean he's not from Austria. I wasn't able to find an image of the original entry he wrote, but handwriting and possible variations on the word aside, there is no such place. Did Bergmann just write any old crap down, or was there a clue in there somewhere? He mentioned to at least 2 people that he was Austrian, which obviously matches the address, but that could have been a red herring. How many Austrians do you know if you're not from Austria? Would you be able to tell the difference between a German and an Austrian accent in isolation from each other after just a brief conversation? I feel like I know maybe a couple of Austrians. Or have known, like not currently, but have known. I'd not be able to tell the difference between that and a German accent. No way. I can't think of any famous Austrians off the top of my head. Whoa. Yeah, you can. Hitler was Austrian. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Austrian. They're different. Apart from Hitler, yes, but he became German anyway, so that kind of muddies things. And when was the last time you heard Mozart say anything? Oh yeah, Mozart, also Austrian. After a quick search, I forgot the Big Daddy, Arnold Schwarzenegger. There we go, but his accent's hardly authentic anymore. My point being, why not? I guess it's like, your accent gets mixed up when you, like, even my accents. It's like I definitely have a British accent still, but it does get a bit funky because I've lived abroad for so long and just hung out with people who don't also have British accents, especially from my region. So it's definitely got a bit weird over time. My point being, we only think Bergmann was Austrian because he said he was. The purple plastic bag. A lot has been made of the fact that Bergmann is never once caught on camera disposing of any of his possessions, yet we know he went out with full bags and came back with none. The guard eye are of the opinion that he was getting rid of all of his personal possessions around town, making it more or less impossible to find out any more about him. Is this true though? When Bergmann arrived in Sligo, he had 2 bags, neither of which were that large. If he was only staying for 3 nights, he probably had a few changes of clothes, some toiletries, etc. He was seen leaving with a full purple plastic bag at least 13 times over the course of Saturday and Sunday. To me, that seems like more than enough times to get rid of whatever he might have had in his luggage. And why would he have waited until checking into a hotel at his final destination to start dumping all of his stuff? Why hadn't he done it sooner on the trip? Maybe he had, and these bags were all that was left. Yeah, that's immediately what I was thinking. He could have had just more stuff. If he only had these small bags while arriving, then maybe he did. We don't know anything about him before he got to this town, remember? It seems a bit odd that he would go around town throwing away or hiding whatever was in the bag to hide his identity. If I were doing the same thing, I'd maybe still have a passport or driver's license for emergency purposes, and that would be about it. None of my clothes have my name stitched into them because I'm not at school anymore, and anything else I would have ditched before leaving or just left in my house. Okay, but there's a reason he wants to make this all super anonymous. Like, he wants to be anonymous. So he's traveled with some stuff. Maybe this is all of his belongings. Maybe some sort of, drifter. And this is all that's left. We don't know who he is, so his last place of residence has never been found. So what could all that stuff have been? Why would you go around throwing away clothes or toiletries that couldn't identify you anyway? There is a pretty depressing theory that Bergmann was carrying around things that might be considered embarrassing, such as adult diapers. Remember, he was in the advanced stages of prostate cancer, and this can render people incontinent. I know he made a lot of trips out, but I really don't know how often you'd need to change these, and to me, it does actually make sense. He didn't want the hotel staff to see them, so he took them out in his purple plastic bag and disposed of them elsewhere, such as in a public bathroom. Of course, the guard eye did search the trash, public areas, car parks, and gardens of properties that Bergmann was seen near in Sligo, but if you have no idea what you're looking for, how are you going to know it when you see it? Yeah, this seems sadly true. That's probably exactly what he was doing. Because Bergmann was never seen emptying the bags, people have theorized that he had police or spy training or some sort of knowledge of the cameras around. According to Detective Superintendent John O'Reilly, CCTV cameras are highly visible all over Sligo town. I mean, it's like he had spy training. No. CCTV cameras are not hidden. They're usually super obvious because they're not there to record crimes. They're there to prevent crimes. That's why there are fake CCTV cameras. That's why they're a thing. So he just was like, oh, okay. Doesn't seem there are any CCTV cameras around here. And then he dumped his stuff. That seems like he's not a spy. It's like anyone could figure this out. Well, blimey O'Reilly to me. This means that if you can see where the cameras are, you can also see where they're not, as previously mentioned. Exactly. He may have been popping into a bathroom to dispose of sanitary products, and the police aren't going to take any notice if they find it in the appropriate waste container. If we subscribe to the theory that Bergmann was intentionally creating a mystery, the bag does come into play here as it's very distinctive. Seeing him carry a purple bag is a very easy way to pick him out in surveillance footage, so as soon as he gets rid of it, it makes him harder to find. Maybe there's more footage of him that hasn't been found because he lost the distinctive marker. He's never seen carrying an empty bag. It's either full or it's not visible. He probably stuffed it into his pocket, as at least one of 13 purple plastic bags would definitely turn up at some point during the police search, or maybe he had a bag full of weird junk and was compulsively strewing it around a foreign town for no other reason than he was having a mental breakdown brought on by stress and illness. Seems too complicated for that, in my opinion. Nobody connected to the investigation seemed to think he was suffering from any kind of mental illness, though. The one thing he was seen throwing away was a note or piece of paper that he had at the bus station. We see Bergmann opening it, then refolding and tearing it up. Unfortunately, by the time this footage was found, it was several days after the investigation began, so the contents of the bus station bin were long gone. I'd love to know what was on that note, but the reality is I know they're going to recover that note, and it's just going to be some boring thing about okay, if I get the bus at 11:03, and that's 2 hours, and it gets in at 1:07, and then I need to cross to the new platform. It'd be some boring ass thing like that. That's what it would be, and they'd go through the landfill and be like, oh. And again, it's why are we trying so hard to solve? The police shouldn't be. This should be something just for internet people. I don't think the police should spend any particular amount of time trying to solve this, because the guy clearly doesn't want to be found. And it's not like there's any reason to suspect that he's a criminal. A trip to the post office. Bergmann went to the post office and purchased stamps and airmail stickers on Saturday. It has since been confirmed that he did post some letters, but apparently the footage from the post office was accidentally corrupted, so there's no video proof of this. Him mailing letters, though, adds a whole other dimension to the case. Oh yeah, okay. What was he sending letters to? Who are these letters to? Were they to family and friends, explaining his decision and asking them to keep his identity a secret to further the mystery? Or for the insurance, or just personal reasons. If so, it's a pretty sad ending, as he was buried in an unmarked grave that involved 3 bodies, and he's currently the second occupant. Oh, I didn't realize that was a thing. That is kind of depressing. His funeral was attended by 4 members of the Gardaí and the 2 funeral officiants. If they were personal letters rather than, say, charitable donations or boring admin stuff, he still may not have got enough information for the recipient to have put 2 and 2 together to recognize him from the police campaign. Yeah, I mean, and where's he sending them? He could be sending them to Austria. And it's like, really? The mysterious address in Austria? Are the Irish police sending like a photo that their sketch artist drew up to Austria? Just the whole country? He might not even be Austrian. Or you're like, have you seen this man? Entirety of Austria. It may be that just friends and family never saw the appeals. This was in 2009, though, with the images freely available online. Yeah, but who goes? No one's looking for these images online. That's the thing. No one. It's going nowhere. Or maybe he was just one of those people with no family left who led a quiet and lonely life. He didn't interact with anyone in a sociable way in Sligo and was always pictured walking alone. Maybe he truly had no one who would have put a name to the face. The post office can't trace where these letters were going, so this line of investigation also hits an infuriating dead end. The autopsy report. No traces of medication or painkillers were found in Bergmann's body, which seems odd given the advanced stage of cancer that he had. There was some aspirin found in his pocket, but he didn't seem to have taken any. It should be noted, however, that the toxicology report was just a general one which didn't cover some of the more exotic drugs and poisons that some people have theorized that he'd taken. Why would you theorize that? Why would you think? He's going to poison himself and swim out to sea and die of a heart attack from all the horrible cancer that he has?
Never can be too sure about these things.
Doesn't seem very likely, does it? Had he purposefully taken something that caused his heart attack? No. He was just super sick. He had 2 previous heart attacks because he'd got so much cancer. Was he under some sort of duress? It seems unlikely that other people were involved, as he was always seen alone in town, at the hotel and on the beach. The fact that he was wearing a swimming costume is a bit odd, unless he went for a swim, was getting changed and putting on his underwear over his trunks for modesty, had a heart attack, and fell back into the sea. If he was thinking of intentionally drowning himself, might he not have put all of his clothes on? This is what some people think, although if I was planning on swimming into oblivion, I'd give myself a shot at the swimming part first, and maybe it was just a bit too cold for the Speedo-style trunks alone. Yeah, that's the thing. He was probably like, yeah, put my Speedos on, go down to the sea, and swim out. And he's like, oh, it's really cold at night. I'm just going to stay in my clothes and just go into the sea like that. This is really depressing. Watching the documentary, though, the medical examiner did not mention this, so maybe it wasn't true. A couple of clues. Given that nothing was left in his room and no trace of his other possessions or bags were found, we've only got the remaining clothes and contents of Bergmann's pockets for clues. While he had cut the labels off his clothes, they were still identifiable by brands, so either he had his name on the labels or they were just super itchy. Exactly. His shoes were made by a German company, his jacket and trousers from CNA, a Dutch clothing store that's popular across Europe. He had almost €150 in notes and coins, some tissues, aspirin, sticking plaster or band-aids, and a bar of hotel soap. Might not seem like a lot, but there are a couple of possible clues in there. Really? It's just a generic bunch of crap. The plasters were the Hansaplast brands. Oh yeah, of course you could look at this kind of stuff. Is the hotel soap from the hotel he's staying at? Maybe that's a clue to where he was previously. Yeah, like where are the Euro notes from? Do they have country markings on them? Probably not, actually. Never mind. And also they'll get mixed up super quickly. Where's the aspirin from? All this kind of stuff. I'd be a terrible detective and be like, that seems like a bunch of crap to me, just throw away. The plasters were the Hansaplast brands, which, while widely available throughout Europe under that name, are based in Germany. The aspirin was also distributed in Germany, and the soap was not from the Sligo City Hotel. On the wrapper it said, mild soap, hotel care. Mild soap, hotel care, generic name. This is not a brand of soap available in Ireland. It appears to be a kind of generic hotel soap, probably used in European hotels, given the multiple translations of mild soap on the back of the wrapper. Again, nothing seems to have come of these links, apart from maybe it was actually German after all. Also, no, it could be still Austrian. It's like Germany makes a ton of stuff. Like, I live in Prague, Czech Republic. Tons of stuff. You go into the store, and it's like, yeah, we've probably got these Hansaplast German plasters. I don't know who makes my plasters, but they're probably from Germany, because I don't know, Germans seem to dominate the drugstore market. I don't know why. Like, you go there and it's like, am I in Germany? Everything's in German. He was wearing a long-sleeve light blue shirt when he checked out of the hotel, but this was never seen again, nor were his glasses, one of his black bags, or the purple plastic bag. The only other clue we had was the note that he was seen writing and tearing up due to the length of time it took to find him. But due to the length of time it took to find him, throwing it away, it was already too late. A solvable mystery. Really? I just feel this is one of those mysteries where it's... I hate to say it again, because I'm aware this is a show where it's like people like to watch this is interesting, but I just don't think it's that interesting of a mystery. It just seems like one of those ones where it's like, okay, the guy just wanted to slip into the great unknown and not be known. And okay, he's not some spy, he's not some murderer, he's not disposing of a body, he's disposing of his adult diapers because he's super sick from prostate cancer. Simple, open and shut. Stop wasting police time on this. On the face of it, this seems like an eminently solvable case. Bergmann had to have got to Ireland somehow, which seems difficult to do without any formal ID. Maybe he used his real ID to get there, then got rid of it somewhere else. Exactly, you could have just thrown it in the trash at the airport. Apparently, you don't need to show ID of taking a ferry from Britain to Ireland, though. Really? Although I'm not sure how you would have got to the British Isles without it. In 2009 was pre-Brexit, but I don't know if it would have been possible to get from Germany to Ireland without having to show any identification at all. Maybe he had been in the UK for a while before travelling to Ireland. I'm sure that the Irish authorities checked passenger lists for flights and ferries, but would they have cross-checked every male passenger to see if it was our mystery man using a name other than Bergmann? And if no ID is required on the ferry, how could you even check a list? I mean, obviously you could get from Europe to the UK without ID. You just take a private boat or whatever. But that is complicated. So I don't think that's very likely. I just think he arrived under a different name, threw it away, and then became Mr. Bergmann. How else could this man be identified? According to the medical examiner, he had quite a lot of dental work done and also had a gold tooth. I guess it's a needle in a haystack type of situation, though. Are you going to contact every dentist in Europe to see if they can recognize the work that he had done? No. It's 2009. Fingerprint him. Suck some DNA out of his body and run it through the system. I wonder now if the police put it into one of those ancestry things, whether they could actually they'd probably be like, yeah, the dude's Austrian. We can tell from his DNA. You're like, okay, great. And there's his sister. Well, she knows. I guess that would be like a super invasion of privacy. But this whole investigation feels like a bit of an invasion of this guy's privacy. If he had been treated previously for his cancer, there must surely be a register of patients somewhere, but again, where do you look without a name? Also, Germany has improved its database of registering cases of cancer across the country, but it started systematically doing it with new cases in 2009. Bergmann would have already had it for years by then, so might not have been in the database. Again, assuming he was from Germany at all. So what about the obvious, fingerprints and DNA? There we go. Irish police took his fingerprints and samples of DNA, but no matches came from the databases they ran them against. I think this just means that he never committed a crime. And what about running it through an online ancestor DNA thing? Yeah, again, I think we already crushed this one, though. That would be a massive invasion of privacy. It's scary that this is I like the fact that we can use this to catch murderers. I don't like the fact that we could do this to absolutely savage people's privacy. Surely that would be the best way to get some sort of match for him. Well, apparently the Guard aren't big fans of this sort of thing, and they do not do it. Their official response to reporter Rosita Boland's question about this was, "We don't send DNA to Ancestry or other sites. While it might advance an area where Peter might have come from, it doesn't advance his identification." Sounds like a bit of a cop-out to me. Yes, it would tell you his genetic makeup. It can also link you to other people sharing your familial DNA. That's one of the main reasons people use it. Nobody matching Bergmann's description has been listed as a missing person, and he wasn't murdered, so his case is not eligible for inclusion with Interpol, for example, which might give it more exposure. Yeah, and this comes back to my earlier argument. It's like, it's just not that interesting. Interpol's not interested. The Irish police aren't interested. The only people who are interested are weird people like you and me on the internet making videos about this mystery. And even I'm like, he's just a guy who wanted to disappear, isn't he? Have we really spent 40 minutes on this? Conclusions. The wackiest theory I found when looking into this was that Bergmann was the son of a Nazi party big cheese, Martin Bormann, whose family apparently changed the name to Bergmann after the Second World War. If this was the case, that is ridiculous. If this was the case, then Peter Bergmann would have been his official name, and there wouldn't have been any need for all this hoo-ha. Didn't think of that one, did you, conspiracy theorists? Conspiracy. That is such nonsense. Another path we can go down is whether after having apparently gone to so much trouble to remain anonymous, we should be trying to figure out who he was at all. Yes, thank you. Leave him the alone. There have been cases in the past of people dying by suicide under false names, only to be identified by their DNA. There was a man who used the name Lai Stevic, for example, before hanging himself in a motel room. Many years later, he was identified through a not-for-profit DNA program, but after his family were contacted, they asked for his real identity never to be released. Some people theorize that Bergmann has been identified, and this identity is being withheld. If that was the case, wouldn't the easiest response to confirm the situation and not carry on with the whole mystery man charade? Yeah, I don't believe that happens. They'd be like, yeah, we identified him. And his family have requested privacy. And everyone would be like, okay, fine. Mystery solved. We just wanted to solve the mystery. We didn't actually give a shit about him. Obviously. It might also be a question of ethics or just common decency. Yes. We're up many times in today's episode, and it's something that apparently is lacking. If he's gone to so much trouble to keep his name out of the papers, who are we to try and dig it up again? There might be legal reasons to disclose or withhold his name if it ever does come to light, but just because we can identify him doesn't mean we should. I guess this is a moot point though, as clearly we haven't been able to identify him and it's been over 12 years already. The most probable conclusion we could draw from this is that this man just wanted to go out quietly. I think that the fact that he posted several letters seems to suggest that he made his plans known to a few people and asked them to respect his wishes, which they have. The heart attack might have been unplanned, but the end result was the same, and the man known as Peter Bergmann created something that few would have thought possible in the 21st century. He gave himself a name, then disappeared. It seems that all it really takes to disguise yourself is to use a fake name and make sure nobody reports you missing. With the full force of international electronic communication at our command, photos, videos, medical records, fingerprints, DNA, he still remains a total enigma. Yes, but also, I think if this was me in this situation, I've done one of those ancestry things, and it'd be like the mystery would be totally solvable if people decided to put the pieces together. But because we respect people's wishes, we're not doing that, which I like. Like in this situation, if I was Peter Bergmann, they'd just run it being like, oh yeah, Simon, he put his DNA in Ancestry, didn't he? And I'll be like, well, f*** you, Ancestry. How about you keep that in private, you dicks? And how about you don't give it to them police? I don't know. I'm not some crazy privacy advocate or anything, but I do believe we should respect people's wishes. And clearly this guy made his wishes pretty goddamn clear, didn't he? And now we've made an episode about it, which I kind of feel bad about, but it's not like we've solved anything, which is nice. I think. Everyone's like, Simon, I was hoping you'd solve it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, this has been an episode of Decoding the Unknown. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Katie, for putting it together. Oh, I didn't mention Jen. Jen edits these videos. Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome.
And I will see you next time. Please do leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts if you like it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, yes, it also comes out as a YouTube video. Like it. Subscribe. Why not? And I'll see you next time.